Right, this one's getting filmed, Beulah.
Still take that present back, yeah? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try and keep this slightly less emotional than Jez. But for those of you that don't know me, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Matt. Would you like a drink? For those of you that have the pleasure of coming to me later at the bar, please address me by my full name. For those of you that do know me, Beulah, would you like a drink will also suffice. Firstly, on behalf of the bridesmaids, I'd like to thank Jez for his stuttering words and gifts. I have to say that they all look wonderful, eclipsed only by Claire herself, who looks absolutely stunning. Jez, bless him, just looks stunned.
Don't argue.
Also have to give a shout out to Chris and Donald, our amazing ushers, for carrying out the very tricky task of making sure people got to their seats at the ceremony. I'd also like to thank all of you, the friends and the relatives, for making it here today. I know a lot of you have travelled a long way, but it's amazing what lengths people will go to for a free meal and a glass of wine. A small mention should also go to the people that, without whom today just wouldn't be the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, the bar staff. And finally, my main vote of thanks has to go to Jez for at long last admitting that I am indeed the best man. Now, the best man's duties are numerous and diverse, but arguably the most important is to make sure that he got here today on time in one piece. And we made it, just about. All credit for his appearance, though, has to go to him. Jez gave up the beer for this wedding. Jez gave up the beer to get into shape for this wedding, and I think you'll agree he succeeded. Well, being round is a shape, isn't it? In all seriousness, no, I've got to take my hat off to him. Claire stated at a very early stage that the belly wasn't invited to the wedding.
I love that, the belly wasn't invited.
One crashed item, half a cup size later, and I think you'll agree that he's not looked better this year. He does now have a slightly worrying eating disorder, though. I had to ditch most of the fat jokes. I couldn't believe it though when Jeremy when he'd exhausted all other options and decided to ask me to be his best man. It's a great honour, a sign of our friendship, and it means a great deal. And as they say, every silver lining has a cloud, and for me, this speech is it. One night, about 12 years ago, I wandered down the pub for a quiet pint and to catch the midweek game, and I bumped into this guy at the bar. After a few games of pool and many, many pints later, we went our separate ways, and I went into work the next day biblically hungover, with little to no idea of who it was I'd got drunk with the night before. So a couple of weeks later, I wandered down the hop for a quiet pint and catch the midweek game. There's already a worrying trend here appearing. And lo and behold, I bumped into the same guy at the bar. A few hours later, we were smashed again. At some point throughout the evening, he happened to mention that he was the manager of the new cinema complex that had opened up just round the corner. He was living out of a hotel and looking for somewhere to live. Oh, I don't know, maybe it was the beer, maybe it was the thought of free endless cinema tickets. But a few days later, he moved in. And that's how I met Jez. Our friendship was forged on this, and it's continued to offer a supportive hand throughout the years. So, beer, we salute you. You know, I've tried to count up the amount of times in different places I got drunk with Jez, but I found it hard enough just doing it in countries. 7 years on and off we've lived together, variety of different places, variety of different people, and they were good times. But it hasn't always been plain sailing with Jez. A talented lad and showing a keen eye for fashion from an early age, starring in a number of fancy dress competitions. Who would ever forget his award-winning turn as Big Ears? His red bike filling the void of Noddy's car. Before moving on to develop more entrepreneurial skills. At only 5 years old, Jez moved into business for himself. And, smelling a profit, he was caught selling school stationery to his friends. A slight markup above what the school was selling things for. His teachers, although impressed with this young dragon's potential, encouraged him to practice at home rather than on school time. A trend that would reverse some years later when in his teenage years teachers would have little luck in encouraging him into school property, preferring instead to hang out at the girls' school next door. Growing up as a big brother didn't always have its advantages either. One day tying Natalie up in pillows to carry out his karate moves on her. The next, Nat bribing Jez into giving him lifts, threatening to tell the folks that he was taking the car out for a spin every time they went out, before he was old enough to have a licence. And then, when he came of age, he set out to take the world at large by storm. But I think it's fair to say it's taken Jez a fair time to find his calling. I mean, the man has had a lot of jobs. And to name but a few, and in no particular order, Jez has been deep breath,
This might take a
a waiter, a barman, a cinema manager, a pizza man, a labourer, a finance analyst, a 10-pin bowling manager, a butcher, a chef, a project manager, a nanny. And of course, a double glazing salesman. Oh, and never forgetting, of course, his not so successful venture into professional poker. Not the greatest choice of career when you consider he has a nickname of One Hand.
I still study.
You know, people often ask why Jez is called One Hand. No one, though, has ever quite inquired, like one girl we bumped into on the stag do. Why are you called One Hand, she asked. Is it because you only have one hand? This is at a time when it was 25 degrees outside and he was wearing a short-sleeved shirt. The stag do, though, was quite the event. Of course, I've been sworn to secrecy by all guilty parties.
Yeah, shut up, Bueller.
However, if anyone would like to see some rather tittillating Tinkerbell photos later, I am open to bribery. But I'd also like to take a moment, as Jez did, to thank the guys that took the time to come over to Vilnius and make the weekend so special for both of us, and much appreciated. But a particular acknowledgement also has to go to Chris, dashing away from his wife and newborn Charles' bedside. Last-minute surprise appearance.
My fault.
Went on to
My
prevent
fault.
that flight happening.
And I hope you didn't get in too much trouble for missing your return flights. Bad fog. I'm sure the full story might come out later. Some of the highlights included introducing our local drinking guide Darius to tour rules and getting him so paralytic he had to be carried out the club. Along with you.
Yeah.
Where is it? Seeing a game of bowling between grown men descend into outrageous cheating.
That was guerrilla bowling.
Guerrilla bowling.
Watching a hardened Scotsman take over 9 minutes to down a pint of warm lager. And of course, watching Jez trying to walk the day after quad biking, being accused of waddling like the penguin after Batman Returns.
And watching Bueller drive a quad bike round the circuit at 4 miles an hour.
I'd say it was 3.
3, maybe 3.
That record. Slow and steady wins the day. But in all seriousness, Today is a special day. Not only has one of my friends got married, but two of my friends have got married. And I wish you every joy and happiness in your married life together. They say you don't marry the person you can live with, you marry only the person you can't live without. Jez, you are very lucky. You leave here today having gained a wife who is warm, loving, caring and funny, and who has a temper that can keep you in check.
No doubt whatsoever.
Claire, you're also very lucky. You leave here today having gained a beautiful dress and some flowers.
He's very good, you know.
Well, I'm sure you'll all be pleased to hear that I'm nearly done. All that remains for me to do is to ask you to charge your glasses. Stand, please. I've somehow missed out on the champagne for all this. I don't really know. The wine will do. Buffalo! Join me, if you would, join me in wishing Mr. and Mrs. Newsom a long, prosperous and happy life together. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your glasses to the bride and groom. Thank you.